Okay, it's 5:30 and time for our joint meeting of the Aberdeen City Council and the Brown County Commission. Chairperson Rachel, I see you have a quorum.
Sure do.
Carl, roll call for us, please.
Councilmember Remley.
Here.
Ronayne.
Here.
Lunsman.
Here.
Slate Hansen.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Bunceness.
Here.
Olson. Rux.
Here.
Mayor Leifson.
Here, let's do the pledge together.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've got two items on our joint agenda. One, offered for possible second reading, is an ordinance for rezoning. Brett, anything new come up?
No changes
since
from
last
last
time? It was passed first reading without objection last week. Entertain a motion from the city for final adoption.
Moved. Second.
Motion Bunceness and second by Remley. Any questions this time? Carl?
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Slate Hansen.
Aye.
Johnson. Bunceness.
Aye.
Rux.
Aye.
Mayor Leifson.
Aye, motion carries. Rachel?
Second reading on the county side would be 475. I'd entertain a motion to approve. 474. Oops, sorry. 474. Moved by Fishback, second by Sutton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, our other item is to set a joint hearing date of April 23rd for a petition to rezone. As you see on your agenda there, just need a motion to set that hearing date.
Second.
Motion Ronayne, second by Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Rachel?
That one on ours would be 475. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Sutton, seconded by Fishback. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Sutton, seconded by Fishback. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Drive safe.
Okay, back to our city agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last week's meeting.
Moved. Second.
Motion Bunceness, second by Rux. If there are no changes, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. This is the day that we are asked annually by a national organization to declare the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service, and we also always have our local people involved who are here, so I'll read the proclamation sent to us first, and then we'll invite them to tell us what they want to tell us. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges, and the nation's mayors turning to national service volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy. Whereas participants in AmeriCorps and Senior Corps address the most pressing challenges facing our cities, and national service expands economic opportunity. AmeriCorps and Senior Corps service participants serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country, including 41 here in Aberdeen. Over 250 national service participants of all ages and backgrounds serve in Aberdeen, providing vital service to city residents and improving the quality of life in our city. Whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and increases return on taxpayer dollars, we will join the Corporation for National and Community Service as they ask mayors around the country to name that a recognition day of April the 3rd. So we will do that, April the 3rd, 2018, as National Service Recognition Day. And do you want to join and tell us what you're doing for it? And
I honestly don't have a lot to say. I just wanted to thank you all for your support for the seniors in Aberdeen. We really do appreciate that and everything they do. And Mayor Leifson, I just want to thank you. Every year you are so willing to step up. In fact, Mayor Leifson is coming to Roncalli tomorrow, and he's going to read Effie's Image, which he probably knows by heart now because he's done it so many times, to the kindergartners and the second graders at Roncalli. But it's a story about, basically about a foster grandma in the school. So, and we'll have a couple, hopefully, weather permitting, we may have a foster grandma and RSVP volunteer there to help you turn the pages.
It's always interesting to see the kids for any of us, but to also see the foster grandparents and the way that they work with them. Do you have a new staff member with you here tonight?
We do actually. Yes, Kathy Wolf is our new RSVP specialist, and Julie, of course, I'm sure you all
Sure.
know she's
Yeah, sure.
been with me for 9 years now. So, but thank you for having us. Thank you for the proclamation. Can I?
There you
come
go.
up and- Then you won't have to remember it tomorrow.
All right.
It's
All right, thank you.
I know if you're like me, I forget everything.
Okay. Getting that way.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Back to our agenda. On the consent calendar, we have items A through D.
Move approval. Second.
Motion Ruck, second by Remley. Lunsman. Any questions on them? All in favor of approving them all, then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. As we move to new business, I've been asked by the city manager to pull item E from the agenda tonight's. That will not be necessary to be dealt with for new business, so you can cancel that one off. But we will start with A. Ordinance number 180403 to disestablish the Board of Health.
I do so with trepidation, ask this board or this council to disestablish our Board of Health. I was working with Brett Bill closely on a couple of things. One is to get him appointed as a health officer officially a couple years ago, which was a major thing in his resume. Because he had been acting as the de facto
There was no
health
extra pay
officer.
with that I remember.
Yeah.
No thanks either. So.
But we've also been talking about reprising our Board of Health, because as I informed the council, the last members that were appointed were back in 2011, and each of those, and the board consists of 3 active practicing physicians in the city, and all of the doctors who were appointed back in 2011 have either died, moved, or retired since that time. So the question has been, let's make those efforts to try to get the board back in place, and I had actually been working with both Avera and Sanford in helping us to find doctors willing to do that. And the truth is that we do have 3 doctors who have indicated that they would be willing to be on the board. So I want the council to be aware of that. However, the more we thought about it, and the fact that we've never actually used it, and Brett has been with the city for over 20 years, and has been in that position essentially that entire time, and it was decided to approach the council about simply disbanding our Board of Health. And I was asked shortly after I had sent out this information to the council what other cities are doing. I cannot tell you that other cities don't have boards of health, but their boards of health have different responsibilities and duties. And we'll use Watertown as an example. Watertown's Board of Health actually oversees its landfill, and is in charge of their waste collection. So that is a Board of Health that does something. Our Board of Health is essentially there for public health medical emergencies, ones that require whether an infectious disease outbreak or some kind of communicable disease outbreak, something to that line. And I had informed the council that in my conversations with the county and with our State Department of Health, there simply is no modern-day necessity for a local Board of Health to deal with an acute public health emergency, and for that reason I am requesting that the council disestablish the board and transfer some of those authorities in clearer fashion to our health officer. And I would point out that the primary transfer that you see is that the section 26-56, which was the old 26-25, has been moved into the article for the health officer, but it basically deals with requiring people to obey the direction of a health officer. Other changes that were made are really to just modernize a little bit of the language, but other than that, with the health officer and the city attorney, we would recommend that the court, or that the council approve this ordinance.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion Remley and second by Johnson. Questions? Anyone? We didn't do this during the flood. We didn't do it during West Nile. We organized the approach to that along with the state, kind of in an ad hoc setup, and that better anyway, huh?
There have been times where I've contacted the doctors individually if I've had a certain question. Say we've had a bed bug outbreak or something like that, just to make sure I'm following the right procedures. But now I can contact State Department of Health and get the same information, or probably more timely information.
Questions or comments on the motion? If not, Carl, first reading of ordinance 180403 to disestablish the Board of Health.
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Slate Hansen.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Rux.
Aye.
Mayor Leveson.
Aye, motion carries. Item B tonight, Carl brings us the ordinance setting the fees and charges to meet our recycling service costs. Carl?
Thank you, Mayor. In discussions with City Engineer Robin Bobzine and City Manager Lynn Lander, we looked at the new contract that we have for recycling services. The price per unit per month for that contract went from $2 to $2.97. To meet that contract requirement, we're recommending that the price that the city charges to the residents would go from $2.10 to $3 per month per unit. This would give us a little bit of extra money that we would use for marketing campaigns, stickers for the recycling bins, and any of the administrative work that we do associated with this program.
Move approval. Go ahead. You. Motion?
Second.
You? Motion second? Okay. Bunceness and Rux with the motion. I was just curious. Well, we were at 250 before we got a better bid and a competitive bid, and then moved it back down, and so now we're
going
kind of
back up.
inflation-wise, we're getting to where we would have been if we hadn't gone down. And
Yes. Mhm.
yeah. So questions on this or comments from anyone else? If not, then all in favor of accepting that decision to set the fees and charges for recycling, Carl?
Councilmember Rux.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Slate Hansen.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Remley.
Aye.
Mayor Leveson.
Aye, motion carries. We have two hearings on our agenda tonight. Nobody here to speak in opposition to either of these related to alcohol licenses. So we'd entertain a motion to approve the application for the Chamber of Commerce Business After Hours events on April 12, May 10, and June 14.
Move approval.
Motion Slade Hansen, second by Remley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The other is, this is the appointed time for hearing on application for a new on-off sale malt beverage license at Lee Park Golf Shop for John Murdy. Any comments from the city management or anything on what's happening here? What's changing at Lee Park that we need to just transferring to John from the
Right.
previous owner? Okay. All right. Good.
Moved.
Second.
Motion Ronayne, second by Remley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Let's hope we get out there. Item E, again, on the agenda, we are not going to deal with tonight, request of the city manager, so we go to item F. Recommendation on bids for Third Street improvements. Robin?
Okay, we did get quite a few bids for this project, and everybody's trying to fill their schedule out for the year. The low bid this year was from Sharp Enterprises of Fort Pierre in the amount of $490,412, and that includes the paver laid option versus the side form, which is obviously a little less effective in this length project. So they'll bring in paver equipment, and that's what we're recommending for approval tonight.
Move approval. Second.
Motion Ruck, second by Bunceness. Questions on Robin's recommendation? All in favor of approving that then, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The next is from Robin for 2018 concrete work.
Okay, we only received one bid this year. It is a trifle below the engineer's estimate, and I guess we're recommending approval. It's a local contractor that we've had for many, many years, so.
Moved.
Second.
Motion Bunceness, second by Johnson. Questions on this one? All in favor then say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion carries. And we have a change order related to the 2016 Water Reclamation Project plant improvements. Lynn, is that you?
I'll take that. Peggy is recommending approval of this change order. It's change order number 1. It amounts to $26,000. Keep in mind, the original project wasn't a plant expansion. It was plant improvements, whereas they were going in and working with piping, or they were working with sluice gates and doing coating. And so this work that came about was beyond the original contract, but was necessary as we went into the project. If you look at some of the explanations, they explain themselves, whereas blast and recoat sludge pipe, coating work and pipe gallery, blasting walls, and all those are attributed to the fact that as they tore in, they just saw additional work that they thought they should address at the time we were doing these plant improvements.
Move approval.
Motion Business, second by Lunsman, and this extra work is the reason for the extra 9 days. I'm assuming that's part
Yes.
of the agenda motion. Questions on it? All in favor of approving that extension, then, including an extension of 9 days in the contract, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item I, bills presented for payment to Asphalt Zipper. Street Department buying an asphalt zipper with trailer, $112,990. AT&T cell phone charges, $983. Department of Revenue license plate costs, $1,863 for city vehicles. Repairs to the Ride Line bus to Double D Body Shop, $6,548. UPS charges, $70. Ambulance oxygen to Matheson Trigas, $145. Copier charges to the ambulance to Marco Technologies, $107. Reimbursement for ambulance billing training to Lisa Fisher, $787.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second Slade Hansen. Questions on any? Carl?
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Slate Hansen.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Rux.
Aye.
Mayor Leveson.
All right, motion carries. Item J is payroll March 18 to 31 and City Sheriff Social Security, Old Age, Survivors Insurance, Retirement, Health, and Life.
Moved. Second.
Motion Bunsness, second by Rux. Carl?
Councilmember Rux.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Slate Hansen.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Remley.
Aye.
Mayor Leveson.
All right, motion carries. Lynn?
Are there any questions with my written report? If not, I have nothing to state at this time.
Okay, anybody with
I
any?
honestly can't, I read it, but I cannot remember the items that you had in your report. Can you summarize those again?
I had the listing of the 2018 strategic plan
Okay.
goals. Thank you letter from Boys and Girls Club.
Yes.
Showed petitions for the 2 city councilors' positions, and that is it.
Okay.
You know, I've got something. You know, I'd like to talk a little bit about the editorial that I'm sure we all enjoyed reading in yesterday's newspaper. The the import of it is that the city had been overcharged, had not been being charged at the right level for both City Hall and the library, and that it was only with the inquiries by the newspaper that is being corrected. And if that is the situation, you know, that is just plain unacceptable. We have a duty to spend taxpayers' money properly. Somebody needs to be looking at these things, and I have assumed that they were. I think when we spend big money, we're pretty careful. Actually, I'm kind of proud of the way we do, and tonight was no exception. We get bids that are actually under Robin's estimate in many cases, and so I feel pretty good about it. But I would ask 2 things. Number one, I'd like a report one of these first meetings as to how this happened. Is it being remedied? How do we make sure it doesn't happen again? And secondly, on these routine smaller bills, what's the process? How is this? How is it that we miss these, and are we missing other ones? I'd like to know that, and I think I would hope that the rest of my colleagues are also a little unhappy about this, and would like to hear from management as how we are going to approach this in the future.
First of all, that article does not include all the facts.
I'd love to hear a report.
Actually, City Hall was inquired about towards the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, as far as the rates. Robin did direct contract with Northwestern and received.
We did talk to them. They were digging into the type of usage that we were looking at and had not looked at the actual rate. They were looking at the kilowatt hour usage, that type of thing, and had not looked at the rate yet. But that they were going down that road at the time when the paper had contacted them. But we had contacted them ahead of that because we were not satisfied that things were where they should have been as far as rates go. The library actually, the rate had changed right around the first of the year. But
To a different rate structure?
Yes.
A downward rate structure?
yes. And that was one of the things that's there is obviously they've got the sidewalks that are being de-iced with some electrical panels underneath the sidewalk to try to prevent things. That is something we did not have at the other facility. And so that particular one it was an interesting situation because you're using about the same size building, but we were only using half of the existing or the previous building. So it was really hard to compare what we really should be looking at. And it took a little while to figure out that those sidewalk panels were probably running on overdrive at the time and maybe causing a little bit of our issue as far as cost goes. But there are some things, as Lynn stated, not everything is out there for you and the public to know. And I think it would be good to assemble a report of everything, what has been looked at today.
Yeah, and part of the facts that are missing within that article too is actually the reporter overheard a conversation with me and the design engineer when I was over at the library one day, and he was talking about the different rates. You know, you just don't automatically qualify for 34 just because you're a commercial building. There are various different attributes to qualify you for that rate. And one of them has to do with what they call demand usage. And if you're over 100, most of the time you fall within that 34 category. And so when he was telling me that, then, you know, I remember Robin's conversation about the fact that, you know, he hadn't had any success in dealing with the Northwestern. And so then I got the idea to pull out the bills to see if in fact we had been changed within our categorical area, and we had. And then that's when we inquired, and they promised that they were going to make an adjustment for us, and that adjustment is going to be roughly about $22,000. I never stated the exact amount because I wanted to receive the actual credit in hand before I made that quote, because it might be $23,000, it might be $21,000, but I think it's about $22,000, and they're making an adjustment to that point in time after we've done our renovation on this building. But it actually started out with a conversation over at the library, where the reporter overheard the conversation I was having with the staff member. And that's when Travis told me, Lynn, go in and look at that demand usage to make certain that it's above 100, because they'll bring you into qualification for that 34 category. So there were inquiries done before the paper
Goes back out over a year since we were making.
And I'm very pleased to hear that.
And just, you know, for your reference, I don't remember what conversation Lynn and I had previously, but when that came in the paper, the first article, I thought, oh yeah, Lynn talked about that. Lynn and I had talked about that. So when it came out the first time, I was aware that Lynn had already been working on it, and I assumed, made an assumption that the article was in the paper because Lynn had mentioned it to the reporter, because he had been working on it. So honestly, I didn't read yesterday's paper, so I didn't see that.
And
I got it at home, I'll have to go dig it out.
It wasn't a very nice Easter surprise with my family there. But going back to your other question, how do you prevent incidents like that. I do not actually pay the bills. Robin does not pay the bills. That goes to Carl. But the only way that I think that Carl could ever grasp something like that is he would have to make a modification in his program for any time a bill exceeded the certain percentage, they have to go back and check the bill. You know, it was unknown to me, as well as Robin, that they changed their rate on us when we were doing the renovation. And we complained to them from day one that this doesn't make sense. We've done this remodel, we got all this energy efficiency stuff going on, our gas bill's down and our electricity bill's going up. And not until we went back and then looked at average demand where compared to 2013 to 15, we knew what they had done.
I know in the library instance, Shirley noticed probably about November that her electric bills were a little out of whack, and that she was starting to do some digging with it with the engineers of the building to figure out why it was high. So I know even on the library it was much quicker because we had been in the building since August, although we didn't really have any demand until September, but it was a similar situation. Gas usage was down, electricity usage was up, or the electricity bill was higher, but the gas portion of it was significantly lower.
So I don't mean to take the air out of the Aberdeen staff over there.
Please
but,
do.
This came about because of the fact that I had a reporter that was listening to a conversation that I had with a professional.
I would
So,
like
as much
to,
credit as they're taking for solving this, they only heard a portion of what was going on.
and I'd like to add on to that. From the time I got in, it's only been a year or close to a year now. I sat down with Lynn and he brought that actual up in one of our conversations. So he was aware of it and we talked about it. So it has been talked about for quite a while.
Anything more, Marilyn?
Actually, the library is holding their strategic planning this Saturday. I will be there. They have some community members involved as well as the library board and library staff. So
I was also disappointed today with the sarcasm that came out of the paper where how many city employees does it take to screw in a light bulb? And I think that just kind of shows the direction of the editorial board.
That was today.
Yes. Other comments, Marilyn? Before we adjourn?
Circulation must be down then. Huh?
well, it is a Monday paper.
So
I
we
move
have,
we go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
Second.
Motion, Ronayne, second by Johnson to move executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.